Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to 3302. This is where I take a look at the news and happenings in and around Elite Dangerous. Today we're going to look at a new concept image for the engineer's base. We're also going to have a look at the new patch update for Elite Dangerous in enabling support for the release version of the Oculus Rift. Distant Worlds is arriving towards their final destination and William Shatner makes a welcome appearance on board our ship's computers. This week's newsletter came with a new peak of the week for a base for the engineers. That are coming in patch 2.1. Now unfortunately the newsletter didn't contain any further information on the patch, so for now we're just going to have to make do with this little image we've got. What we can see here is that it's a very different looking base to what we've seen so far, and even the landing pad colours are slightly different. Now what we do know about the patch is that the engineers are meant to be difficult to find, and they're elusive and like to hide away. And I think that's slightly reflected here on this particular image. You can see that their base is actually hidden deep inside one of these mountainous ridges here. And of course there's a few landing pads on the end of some long entryways, giving access to the base itself. Now Frontier have described this as a piece of concept art, but one thing that Frontier have proven is that they're pretty good at getting their final product to look very similar to the concept arts that they release. The number of engineers is going to be limited at the initial release. They're not going to be dotted absolutely everywhere, but they will be proportionally distributed over inhabited space. Although Frontier have said that their location won't be advertised, I have little doubt that within the first few hours of the release of the beta, that pretty much everyone who wants to know will know precisely where to find these engineers. But they do come with a number of associated requirements in order to use them, and we don't know yet what they are, but there are some fears amongst the community out there that getting access to all the features of engineers could require a decent amount of grinding. And perhaps those people have got a point there, as some of the unlocks within the game do indeed require that. That said though, I really think it's going to have to be a case of waiting and seeing. I know that Frontier have said that the engineers will only deal with certain people, but at the end of the day I'm hopeful that at least some of their basic services will be available to everyone. There's still no news yet on the specific date for the patch release, but we are getting ever closer to the May beta release that Frontier have mentioned previously. Last week, Frontier released a small patch update for Elite Dangerous, enabling Oculus Rift support for their SDK 1.3. That's the latest version of the Oculus software development kit. And what this will do is enable Elite Dangerous to function with the release version of the Oculus Rift. The slight downside to this patch release is that the SDK 1.3 wasn't to be available until today, that's Monday the 28th of March, and the patch for the game actually hit a few days earlier than that, rendering some people in the position where they were unable to use their DK2 with Elite Dangerous. Now there has been some questions over the past few days as to whether Elite Dangerous will continue to support the Oculus Rift DK2, but the fact remains that the SDK 1.3 does continue to support the development kit, and that people with access to 1.3 as well as the latest version of Elite Dangerous and the DK2 have confirmed that they all work with each other flawlessly. By the time you watch this video though, there will hopefully be some information available on just how the release version of the Oculus Rift works with Elite Dangerous. I look forward to seeing that. The Distant Worlds expedition is now approaching their final destination. This time next week, and they should finally be there at Beagle Point, over 65,000 light years away from home. The journey has taken over 12 weeks and has involved many hundreds of commanders. It's also gone a long way to show just what the game is capable of, with there being a whole load of players available in a single instance, and in one case there being well over 100 players present in just a single instance. That said though, there does still seem to continue to be a number of instancing issues, and this can cause all sorts of problems, from people simply disappearing from the group to getting significant damage to their SRV as they're driving along. But the odd few problems aside, the Distant Worlds expedition has been an overall exceptional experience. To celebrate the arrival at Beagle Point, there's going to be a whole week of events from the 2nd of April to the 9th of April, and if you're at all interested in all of this, the events are all detailed in this week's Distant Worlds newsletter, and you can find a link to that in the video description below. As far as I'm aware, there are no official plans from the expedition as to what people are going to do once the journey comes to its end, and I fully suspect that there will be a good number of people that decide to take the shortcut home by exploding their ships. But for everyone else, I fully expect the fleet to start dispersing and slowly making their way back home again. But ultimately, with all those people in a single place, the possibility remains that a few groups may yet have a few plans up their sleeves. As I've said many times before, the Distant Worlds expedition has been one of my best gaming moments ever, and for that I owe a huge thanks to Dr. Kai and Eramus, who have put immense amounts of work into the organisation of this event. By now it'll be quite likely that you're very much aware that HCS voice packs have got a new pack out voiced by William Shatner as a character called Orion. Now these voice packs use a neat little program called Voice Attack that enables you to control your ship and its functions by spoken voice commands. The voice pack itself is a profile that integrates directly into Voice Attack, and as mentioned, it gives your ship a voice that you can directly converse with. It's a neat little program, and I did a preview video of it late last week, and if you're at all interested, you can always go and check that out. You can find a link to the preview video I did, as well as a link to the HES website in the video description. In Xbox related news, Elite Dangerous is on sale for 33% off. Now I don't own an Xbox One, so I haven't actually played it on the console yet, and I do often get asked questions about whether or not I actually play that, and also a lot of people ask me about any potential release of Horizons on the Xbox. Now I don't know anything about that, and unfortunately Frontier haven't actually spoken about it yet. But if you read the odd few developer comments here and there, they have pretty much confirmed that it is indeed in development. But when it comes out is pretty much anyone's guess. But my guess would be that it will be the middle of this year. Elite Dangerous was released on PC on the middle of December in 2014, and Horizons was released on the same day in December in 2015, so it was almost exactly a year apart to the day. And if we were to follow that logic, Xbox version of Elite Dangerous was released on June last year, so, well, Horizons could well be coming in June of this year, and that would be my best guess if I actually had to make one. But as we well know by now, absolutely anything is possible when it comes to Frontier and their release announcements, and it's certainly not unheard of for them to give exceptionally short notice periods for their releases. Finally, I'd like to mention a YouTuber that I've talked about previously on 3302, and this is Turgeon. He does some really good Elite Dangerous videos, and on his latest video, well, I actually turned up and featured in it myself. Turgeon is actually a very good storyteller, and he's also pretty damn funny too. As always with his recommendations, I've linked his video below. And I think that brings us to the end of this week's episode of 3302. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.
I am Orion.
And I am Obsidian Ant. Welcome to Elite Dangerous. As you can probably tell, I've got a bit of a special guest on board my ship today. I really don't know that much about him, aside from the fact that he seems to have integrated himself into my ship, and that his name is Orion. Why don't you tell everyone a bit about yourself?
Stand by, one moment. This is classified information. I am compelled to answer only with that, and I'm not able to explain why.